Good morning, everybody. This is Sunday. I'm at the Stanley LA Comic-Con, and I am joined today with Sam Shearon, also known as Mr. Sam. And we're at the Black Squid Comics booth, as well as Vesuvian Media Group booth. And so today we're meeting because Sam has a new coloring book out, and it's called, Creepy Christmas, a Merry Macabre Coloring Book. And so anyway, Sam, thank you for joining us this morning. Tell me more about the book.
Well, as you said, it's a coloring book, but it's also not only 40 images, it's 40 poems as well. So you have the history of Christmas, which, doing the research, I found that Christmas is much darker and creepier than Halloween. Everyone says that their favorite season is Halloween. You know, me too. I used to be one of those people. But when I started looking at Christmas, there's so many more legends and folklore throughout Europe and anywhere where it snows, really. And they used to tell these stories of monsters in the mountains, these big goat people and these ogres and trolls and things that would steal children and eat them. And all that was really just to make sure that children didn't wander off in the snow, which makes sense. But then you have all the other mythology where you have to knit new clothes, otherwise this giant cat will eat you if you have old clothes. Just really weird stories. So I started collecting them all and doing all the research, and I got more of an education myself. And as I say, I found it to be more creepy than Halloween. I decided to put them all in a book and make a coloring book because it's a huge craze at the moment. Apparently there's 3,000 titles out there of different coloring books. So I thought I'd do my own.
So what was the catalyst to do a Christmas book to begin with?
I think generally it's just I wanted to do something different that wasn't cliched as just dark and monstrous and the usual thing. Although saying that, next year I will be putting out a Halloween one, so to follow up the Christmas one. So the hard one's done, Christmas is done, it's out of the way. So now I can just focus on Halloween.
So what made you decide on Christmas rather than Halloween? Because I mean, typically we think, you know, Halloween is creepy, but you know, we wouldn't have figured that with Christmas. So
well, last year the movie came out, Krampus, the movie.
Yeah.
And it's this new craze it's been around forever, as a lot of Europe knows, but in America especially, it's become this new craze that's sort of become a phenomenon, and it's spread viral to the point where they've made a movie. I believe Kevin Smith's making his own movie as well. Anti-Claus, I think, is coming out. So it went really just crazy popular everywhere. There's little festivals people hold, and I got sucked into that world from childhood, knowing all the old legends of things. I thought, well, let's look more at Christmas. And as I said, you know, I started to look even deeper than beyond Krampus, and found all these other monsters that I hadn't even heard of. So that was the real impetus to sort of get this going and put it out really before anyone else.
Yeah. And what was probably the most interesting character that you learned about in putting this project together? I
would have to say Gryla. Gryla is a woman ogre. She's very much like the female version of Krampus in a way. She's half goat, demon, really huge, and she'll, throughout the whole year, almost like Santa Claus, she'll keep a list of children, all the naughty ones, and then at Christmas time, she'll come out of her cave and go down into the villages and whatever, and collect all the children and put them in a big cauldron and cook them all and eat them. And she has a pet, which is this giant cat, the Yule cat, which is the one that will eat you if you don't get new clothes. So you have to have new clothes, which again, in folklore and the legends and everything else that they would spin this yarn was really to just make sure that everyone was warm at Christmas, and to encourage people to make new clothes. They would scare people with this story, which is a great idea, because you know, people are lazy, so you have to scare people into action.
And were you surprised by how many stories were actually out there?
I was, and it's funny you say that, because to be quite honest with you, I'm even considering doing a second one, because there were so many I just couldn't include. You know, you have all your Native American ones, which there's just so many. Scandinavia alone probably has the most within this book. But yeah, you know, there's just so much in Christmas more than Halloween that I had no idea how deep and dark these legends go. There's just so much of it, you know.
Now let's talk about your art style a little bit, because you have a particular influence. You study cryptozoology.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, cryptozoology it's the hidden animal sort of research area. It's not an actual science, although people who are really invested in it would say that it is. It's a fringe science. It's sort of on the back burner of actual documented real animals that we have in zoos and in museums as taxidermy. But cryptozoology are animals that people claim to have seen, but there's no proof. Like Bigfoot. Thousands of people have seen it, but we've never found a body. So cryptozoology includes lake monsters, you know, strange wolves, even a butterfly that has a strange pattern that someone says they've seen, yet we don't have a specimen. It all goes into that same category. So that's something I'm really interested in since childhood. Again, it's one of those things where you could look at it as though monsters are real. Cryptozoology is an acceptance that there are things out there that are monstrous that shouldn't exist, but they do. So,
and what got you down that road, just out of curiosity?
I think just being a child and growing up in sort of a rural area on the edge of a forest, and just being surrounded by nature and wildlife. And my mum would take me to all the museums, especially Lime Street Liverpool Museum in England. I'd sit underneath dinosaur skeletons and real monsters. So that just became sort of the beginning of the fascination with what else is out there. That could there be dinosaurs living in the Congo even now? That kind of thing. The Amazon. Do they have dinosaurs in the Amazon? These are places which people say, oh, we have satellites and we know where everything is now. Well, we don't. We don't. Oregon alone, what is it, 3 million square acres of uncharted forest? So airplanes have gone down into that forest that we've never found.
Yeah.
So Oregon, there's a big place for Bigfoot to disappear and no one will ever find him, So that whole thing, from a natural history perspective, originally is where I really got into cryptozoology, because it it goes into the unknown, What's more fascinating than the unknown?
Yeah. And I'm curious how you actually got into comics, because you also have a foot in the music industry,
That's right,
with regards to your design work that you've done with album sleeves, as well as Merc designs. I mean, you've worked with Iron Maiden, Ministry, Rammstein.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about how does that fit between comics and with the music? Is there similarities?
It's generally sort of... people use the term dark art loosely, but it does cover a whole, spectrum of things. Rock music, as you say, or metal music, or industrial music, or gothic music. That whole range of entertainment itself bleeds into movies and horror films, and vice versa. They'll marry each other very well. Movies will have rock soundtracks, or rock albums will have horrific artwork. So it goes hand in hand, very much so. But the comic book world, that's another thing. It really branches into every area of dark art. You have, again, your mythology, your cryptozoology, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's just anything that you could imagine that's horrible always is related to something else, and they feed off each other. And I think that's just how, with the work that I've done, it's led me to other things. It's all tied in, in a bigger way.
And talking about leading into other projects, you've been working with Clive Barker on Blood of Books, or Book of Blood?
Books of Blood, yes,
Books
that's
of
right.
Blood. And you're going to be in the Hellraiser Anthology. Can you talk a little bit more about that project?
Yeah, how did you hear about that? That's news.
I was at the panel yesterday.
Okay, I wasn't.
Well, you were working.
That's true, yeah. I have an excuse, I met Clive maybe 3 years ago now, I think, around Halloween, actually. So what a better time than Halloween to meet Clive. He's a lovely man. He's also from Liverpool, as I am. And so when we met, we sort of reminisced about Liverpool and whether we missed it and the weather and that kind of thing, and told him where my grandmother was from and my mum and everything, Norris Green in Liverpool. And he said, oh, I know it well. So we got on really well, and from that point on we swapped cards, and he went through a disc of my artwork, and Mark Miller and Ben Mears up at Seraphim Inc., which is Clive's company. they said, hey, we really want you to illustrate the Books of Blood, and it's gone on from then, Hellraiser and Hellraiser comics, and it's just a constant flow. So I'm regularly working with them. They're great people as well, really nice people.
Yeah, that's great. And what are you doing with the anthology? Anything specific that you can talk about?
I don't want to give too much away, but I can tell you it is a collection of news stories by various artists. So it's a real tome to collect, because it's going to be, as I say, a variety of all different styles and different stories, all not connected, but with the same Hellraiser theme that runs through it. You know, the Cenobites and people finding the box and opening the box, and then Hell opening up. You know, so it's going to be really interesting to see it. You know, myself to read it, because there's so many different things the Hellraiser could be. It could go anywhere. Anybody could find this box throughout history, in any country, and the anthology is just another extension of the Hellraiser mythos. So I'm really excited to be a part of it and to be illustrating one of those stories.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: it's the one I'm doing. It's a Wild West one, so
cool.
I'm really excited about that. Yeah,
and I like your Wild West themes anyway.
Thank you.
So anyway, but what projects otherwise do you have coming up?
Currently, oh goodness me, I've just finished 3 covers for Small Town Monsters, which is a cryptozoology documentary company. They do films on these actual real accounts and cases where even policemen have come face to face with a Bigfoot. You know, they've had a phone call, they've gone out to a field thinking, why has this person called me? They get there, and then they shine the torch in the field, and sure enough, this huge thing's there. So you have these great interviews on there. So I've been involved doing a lot of artwork for them, and just working with lots of different bands at the moment. You know, doing artwork for Invidia, which is a new super group in a way. You have members from Five Finger Death Punch, Skin Lab, and in this moment all come together to create a new band, Invidia. So their new albums, or their debut albums, due out early next year, 2017. So look out for Invidia. And King Creature from the UK, there's another band. You know, there's so many of these bands, I lose track of it, to be quite honest with you. It's shame on me, but yeah.
And where can people find you on social media to take a look at your work, keep in touch with you?
Everywhere. I'm always on Facebook. I don't really use it as a social thing. It is more of a business thing, but I'm always on Facebook. Come and say hi, you know, just drop me a line or whatever. But I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, all of them really. But yeah, you could find Mr. Sam Shearon or Sam Shearon, and they're all kind of linked. So if you go to the Facebook, really, you'll see in the More About section all the links to all the other pages. So follow me, like me, share it, love me.
Oh, we do. Well, thank you very much, Sam. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
This is Michele with Fanbase Press. If you like this content and like to see more of it, please go to www.fanbasepress.com.